Welcome to Grow My Etsy Shop podcast, the drips of knowledge you need to start growing. Hello there, Jared Robinson here. Just trying a new intro here. Hope you don't mind. All right. So for today, I thought this is a fun subject. This is something I enjoy talking about. We're going to go a little old school here. We're going to bring in the marketing principles that we can apply to our Etsy shop. So when I originally started this podcast many moons ago, I didn't have a lot of, I wasn't working with a lot of Etsy shops at the time. So I was like, I don't really know what they're suffering with. What is it that directly that they want? And so I started the podcast by just saying, look, I just know a lot about marketing. Let's talk about marketing and see how we can apply it to our Etsy shop. And every once in a while, I look at my episode titles and I'm like, oh, I haven't done it in a while. Let's throw it back in there. So that's what I did today. And I looked at it and said, oh, I've been talking very Etsy, very much, but I think there's a lot of good things that can be learned just by applying what's working in just marketing in general and then swinging it in. So the thing that I want to talk about today is lead magnets. So someone said to me this week, hey, Jared, I'm thinking about hiring someone to help me grow my email marketing. And I'll give you the advice that I gave this person. I said, if you have money to invest in email to pay someone to help you do your email marketing, you should invest it in paid traffic first. So whatever it is that you were thinking was going to cost for someone to do that for you, go fill the pipeline first. Because keep in mind, email marketing is great if you have lots and lots of subscribers and lots of subscribers coming in. Because now you can have a way that you can warm people into your funnel and then or I call it the pond, warm people up in the pond, and then you can fish from that pond every time you send an email out. If you're like, oh, I have 5,000 subscribers and I want to pay someone to do my email marketing, what we're trying to do is say, hey, can you just fish out of this pond that I've already created and not refill it? So my feeling is, let's get a spot where we are filling our pond, and then we can say, Jared, my pond every day is filling up with new fish and no one's fishing. And we can say, let's talk about that. So the advice I gave this individual was, let's work on a way that we do fill this pond up. And if it's through, and she does have some paid strategy. And so this paid strategy is going to be helpful for what they're doing. But also there are other things that we can do. So we kind of had a conversation about email marketing and landing page or lead magnets. And I am going to share some of that insight with you. When we're looking to attract someone to take action by joining our email list, we have to use the 3 P's of marketing. Most shops use the last P, which is promotion. Get 15% off your next order. Get free shipping, which is a fantastic tool to use in e-com. So if I'm on a website, starting to check out on a website or looking at something and something pops up and says, hey, we'll give you free shipping, sign up. That's a very motivating call to action. So there's nothing wrong with promotion. It's difficult to do in a cold scenario. So your lead magnet is up on the internet and someone's like, oh, I can get free shipping to this store that I'm not interested in or don't know about or have never looked at. Like, that's where it doesn't really work. But if you have someone or putting traffic to your website and then you have the promotional P that's taking place, that works. You'll see it. Most e-com stores use this technique to capture warm traffic that's coming to their website. Or a better way to say that is to capture the cold traffic that's becoming warm on their website. The other two, you're going to hear a similarity between the two. So the first one is problem awareness, and the next one is pain. So those are your 3 P's of marketing. Let me say them again: problem awareness, pain, and promotion. So the first two, which are more powerful than promotion, because the top 2 can convert cold. Someone can not know you and then follow you or join your email list or sign up or whatever to solve the first 2, problem awareness or pain. Now, what you didn't hear in this was advice. What you didn't hear in this was good ideas. You heard problem awareness and pain. Let me tell you why. This is the saying in whenever I'm coaching someone who's looking to grow a brand or whatnot, I use this quote. I say, people will trust strangers to avoid pain, but they won't trust strangers for pleasure. That is true. So if I said to you, let's just say today I decided I'm going to be a marriage coach, and I said, my lead magnet is going to be 7 words that strengthen your marriage. Now, sure. If you were scrolling on the internet and you saw something like that, is it gonna strike out? No. But what's there for me? And if you really pull back the curtain, what you're essentially saying is, hi, I'm this stranger, and I'm going to teach you 7 words that will strengthen your marriage. And I have to make a decision. Do I want to stop what I'm doing and pursue pleasure? Strengthening my marriage would fall under pleasure. So am I willing to derail my thoughts, derail my course of action to see and seek pleasure? Now, if you bring that into caveman days, we didn't think pleasure first. We think defense first. It's how we're wired as humans. So we want to defend before we seek joy. So if I take that same exact lead magnet and I change the title to 7 words that ruined my marriage. Now, one of the things you're going to hear is the first one was 7 words that to strengthen your marriage. That's me taking authority and saying, I'm going to teach you how to strengthen your marriage. Well, I don't know you. I don't really need your advice. Thank you. The next one is 7 words that ruined my marriage. What I've done is I've removed you from the seat of student to observer. So you're no longer needing to sit here and get lectured by me about the 7 words that will strengthen your marriage. I don't know you. But let me tell you about the 7 words that ruined mine. If I said to you on this podcast, my marriage is ruined, and here were the 7 words that I used in my life that ruined my marriage, I don't imagine my drop-off would be very high at that stage. I think most people are going to want to know, what are those 7 words? Because you no longer put yourself in the teacher-student position. You're now looking through a window. And now here's the question. Do I want to see what happened? And do I want to compare myself to the result? And that's where that comes in. Am I using those 7 words? I don't know. But I don't have to trust Jared. Jared could be the worst human being in the world. I would still be curious what those 7 words are, just so that I can see and avoid pain in my life. That's what you're triggering with a headline like that. You're triggering a defensive response. I want to watch from the side and see, is this going to cause pain in my life? That's where our nervous system reacts differently. Oh, I forgot to tell you. Etsy is going to take $100 out of your account in the next week unless you do these 5 things. Do you hear that? Let me rephrase it. Hey, here's how you can gain $100 by hacking Etsy system. Which one worked better? The loss. I don't want to lose $100. Though both are $100. The thought of losing $100, it will get someone's attention faster than the thought of gaining $100 from some stranger. So this is where you can avoid one of the hardest parts of lead magnets, which is gaining that trust or vulnerability from somebody. When someone opts into a pleasure-based headline or hook, they are putting trust in you. So usually that takes multiple touch points, opportunities for them to see your stuff, and then be like, I am interested in what that person has to say from a teacher-student standpoint to help me save my marriage. But you can move past that and just get into, hey, here's the things that sort of affected me. There's those popular series on YouTube that Etsy shop owners do where they open an Etsy shop or they have an Etsy shop and they're like, hey, I'm just going to film myself running my Etsy shop and the strategies that I'm doing, and you can kind of watch. They're genius because they're taking this exact principle, which is, hey, you don't need to be a student. You just can sit next to me and watch through a window while I do what I'm doing, and I'm going to make mistakes and I'm going to do things that are smart, and you can watch. And then what happens is you're like, wow, that person is good at what they're doing. It looks like they're really researching this whole thing, and you are A, connected to their story, and B, are building trust with this person. And so for most of us, we look at social media and we're like, oh, I want to build a social media following. It'd be so nice if everyone's just following me, whoever wants to buy a sticker, and I can just post my stickers on social media and off we go. But that's not what people are looking for. They're looking to be observers. That's what they want. They don't want to be stuck in a student-teacher position. They don't want to be stuck in a chair tied up and shown pictures of your products nonstop. They want to observe. And so I want you to look at your own social media and say, am I providing an opportunity for people to observe what I'm doing? Or am I promoting what I'm doing? And I think as you can change that, you'll find that your following will grow. So if I'm an artist who paints, instead of saying, buy my art, I can change it to, here, I'm going to try to paint something different. I'm going to try to paint this new thing. I'm trying this. Here I go. And I can hyperlapse my paint. I can voice over to talk about the struggles and the things that I learned in the process of it and how I felt it turned out. I've switched it to an observe, a story. And that's what social media rewards. It rewards people. It rewards you getting people's attention. And moving someone from that observer spot is what's going to not put you in, I don't know if you want to call it like Instagram jail, which is when they recognize that you're just promoting, or they recognize that you're just trying to get people to be in a student position. So it's a weird thought process because we might see it on the internet. We might see those coaches and those people, and usually they have some sort of clout, and so they're wearing their clout at that stage, and that's fine. But I'm saying for you as a shop owner, change your mindset to observer instead of promoter, and it's going to make a difference with what you're doing. So let's do a live one together. Let's say that you are a greeting card store. So typically what you would think is, I'm going to take a picture of my Mother's Day cards. I'm going to post them on the internet, social media, wherever, and I'm going to say, or in my email, I'm sending an email out, I'm going to say, new Mother's Day cards available. That is typically what 99% of people are going to do. And is it going to work? Of course, because there's going to be people who see the card and be like, I love that card, and they're going to buy it. But here's how we have to recognize that is the promoter standpoint. That is promoter student, or promoter someone tied up to see what you're selling. We want to change that promoter student to observer. So how do we do that? I think the best way to do it is you say, hey, I'm currently working on a Mother's Day card, and I feel like I'm been playing around with a few headlines, trying to find it to be perfect but not cheesy. And so I've deleted it like 5 times, but this is the line I've landed on. What do you guys think? That is an observer. Someone is watching from that standpoint and is now no longer student promoter, but is in shoulder to shoulder with you and is able to say, oh, I can relate with that struggle. I can see that you're working hard on your product. I can see that you're trying to land this, and here's my feedback on what this is. And suddenly you've now gained engagement. You've engaged people who are going to look at that from a different standpoint. And so if we say new Mother's Day card available, what do we expect people to say other than like, cute, or cool, and move on with their lives? But in this scenario, you've created something. You've told a story, and that story holds more an observer standpoint. So it's that vulnerability that opens that up. So another idea that you can have are the rejected headlines. You can say, hey, here are the 12 headlines that I didn't like. And so they can swipe over to see the headlines that you'd originally written before versus the new one. And maybe someone's like, dude, I really like 6. And now you've done it. You've created engagement. This could be a tough mind frame because a lot of us will say, well, look, if I want people to buy from me, they have to assume that I am amazing. They have to assume that I know everything and that I am the best card maker that there ever was. So how can I show them my mistakes or my rejected drafts or whatever? And this is where we can get confused. And that's not what people are looking for. You can earn that, but you can earn that through vulnerability. You can earn that through just showing your process. Okay, so let's do another one. Let's say that you are a custom laser sign person. So again, what's our promotion? Our promotion is custom laser signs starting at $49.99. That's our promotion. I think a great angle to go about this is to say, I was making a sign today and I almost ruined it. I had to stop halfway through it. It was going darker than I expected. I ended up having to power down and adjust the thing. And this is why cheap wood doesn't work. If you use cheap wood, you're going to see this, this, and this. Great wood does this, this, this. This is why that detail matters. Okay, that was off my dome, and I love that one because it's showing the technical knowledge, check. It's showing that skill is needed for something like this, and that you have pride in your craftsmanship, that you know what you're doing. And so I love that because it's a way of saying, look, this is why my product is superior without saying it. But then you could go down. You could show the smell test of wood types. You can explain the burn that takes place and why that's there. You can, I don't know. That's about all I know about lasering. But like maybe, befores and afters and things like that are always fun and being part of the process. But people want to see the middle. And I think we sometimes forget that. One of the best ways to hook people is to have, this is what I wanted to have happen, so I did this, but then this happened, so then I did this. That's a really good story frame to go through. So it's like if you make dog collars, you're like, look, my job as making dog collars is to make the best dog collar. I'm on a mission to make the best dog collar that there ever was. And so I test my own dog collars on my dogs 2 weeks before I ever let anything go. This is what I learned in those 2 weeks. Number 1, XYZ. Number 2, XYZ. Number 3, this is what I thought was going to happen, but it didn't. So then I went and did this, and I fixed it, and now it works. Ta-da! That is a great story frame for selling dog collars. And what that does is it lets them see the same things we just talked about. You have pride in your craftsmanship. You are on a mission, on a goal to do something, and they're an observer watching you do that. And so that's going to grab attention. And so what happens is if you can grab attention not from your target audience will see it. Meaning, Jared doesn't have a dog, but I would participate in that story. And so I would watch that. I would engage with that story. And then what happens is, as I engage with this as a non-dog owning, looking for a collar right now person, that's what triggers the algorithm to go further out. So the algorithm is using this same principle that we're teaching here, which is it wants people to be observers. So now we go back to our headlines. We go back to our lead magnet. So we have something that we're going to offer someone. Hey, if you're interested in something, go check out my bio. In my bio, I have blank. And that bio shouldn't be 7 things that are going to save your marriage. It should be the 7 words that destroyed mine. And that puts it as an observer. So this should be, and let's go to our dog collar. So if I'm in that dog market, what I'm probably going to promote more are the things that didn't work for me. So like here's 7 leashes that were a waste of money. Because I'm putting someone into an observer position that then gets to avoid pain. Oh, what are those 7 leashes? Is my leash on there? Because I don't want a crappy leash. I want a great leash. So let's say I don't know anything about dogs, but let's say there's a brand that's popular. Is that brand on there? Are they going to tell me why it's not good or why it is good? I want to know. As an observer, I want to avoid the pain. That's what you're trying to do. Now, that doesn't mean you don't or can never have pleasure with your headlines. You can. So I don't want you to feel like everything you're ever going to do is just on fire or, pain oriented. Just know they work the strongest. But you can say, let's actually play around with the pleasure headline really quick. If I was to say, these 3 leashes were the best leashes I ever used. So that's still putting someone as an observer. They're still watching that from this standpoint, and that same curiosity could still be there. Does that make sense? So I think a stronger headline would be like, these 7 leashes for under $10 changed my life. Like that's a much stronger headline. But the principle is still the same. You're still moving it to an observer. Where it starts to get fuzzy is when you're like, let me tell you the 7 best leashes. That's where it's like, dude, who are you? Why do I care about what you have to say in this? So unless you have that trust, unless you have that following, and then you say into your following, so someone like, I guess myself, I can say, hey, everyone who listens to this podcast, here are 7 things that will help you grow your Etsy shop. And that's, hopefully, you're listening to this, you're 20 minutes into a podcast now, you're like, oh, I trust Jared, so I'd be curious what he has to say. But if you didn't know Jared, and I was just, for those who've seen me, I'm just a hairy dude, you'd be like, my gosh, I have to tell you this funny story. It's going to be off subject, but I was I was sitting next to this redhead guy I'm a redhead, and he was very clean cut. He was like he's probably 10 years younger than me, so that helps. And he's just put together. And then there's me. I've got hair down to my chest, and I'm old and got a big old beard. And there's this teenager, and we were in a teaching class. This teenager's looking at me, and he looks at the guy sitting next to me. He looks at me, and he looks at the guy sitting next to me. So I kind of, recognize that this teenager's looking at me. So I give him like one of those head nods, like, what's up? What are you doing? And he says, you look like that guy had he not passed that one important test in his life. And I thought, that is the most, come work for me. That is the most creative thing I've ever heard in my life. It killed me. And he's 100% right. So going back to this, yes, if I'm sitting here looking like that guy who didn't pass that one test and is now homeless on the streets, that's going to be tough for me to get that trust. And so the way I would go about it, if I'm going cold, is to go more, hey, here are things you can do that's going to avoid some pitfalls on Etsy. And I know that would work better for me. So, okay, so as you're looking at headlines, as you're looking at lead magnets and things to do, hopefully this kind of gives you an idea. And so if you currently have something in your bio, or you're currently on something on your website, again, I don't mind promotional pop-ups on your website. I think that's appropriate. They're usually at that stage showing somewhat interest, and you're just helping. We call these sweeteners. So you're just sweetening the deal. So, are you thinking about buying from me? Well, if you buy from me right now, you can get free shipping. That's sweetening the deal. But when we're going from this, hey, I just watched this person's reel, I'm curious what they're about, or I'm just starting to dabble my toe in this person's world, a way to get someone to take more into your world is to say, hey, I've kind of learned something. Do you want to see what it is? And they're like, sure. Okay, till next time.